A motley crew of misfit kids made their television debut in 1955 on The Little Rascals. They originated in MGM's Our Gang shorts from 1922 until 1938. The Little Rascals is still airing television series created and produced by Hal Roach from 79 of the shorts. A character's nickname reflects their unique appearance and personality. Everyone remembers Alfalfa's startled expression when he saw freckles on his nose and the stray hair that sprang up on his head. Our Gang Favorites. Petey the dog, Spanky, Buckwheat, and Stymie were the other beloved members of our gang. An examination of the original Little Rascals from their inception to the present day is about to unfold, and you're in for a plunge into television history. Not just that, however, the 1994 Universal film, The Little Rascals, again brought their fame to the big screen. An adaptation of the iconic Our Gang shorts served as the basis for this feature-length picture. The Olsen twins, Whoopi Goldberg, Mel Brooks, Reba McEntire, Daryl Hannah, and Raven Simone were the headliners of the celebrity appearances, directed by Penelope Spheris, and made the film stand out. The Little Rascals performers' personal and professional lives have been the subject of much speculation. Now, your wait is over. The Little Rascals, both then and today, are shown here. So, which one do you like most? Beloved and enduring series. Once known as Our Gang, The Little Rascals are today considered a classic in American television. When it debuted in the 1920s as a collection of short films, the show's genuine, funny, and endearing depiction of children won over viewers. The Little Rascals refused to romanticize or idealize childhood, but instead embraced it in all its naivete, inventiveness, and lovable quirks. The cultural impact of the performance was just as significant as its substance in making it legendary. Neighborhood Kids. With its all-kid ensemble, The Little Rascals was an excellent film. Kids from low-income neighborhoods who got into trouble and learned valuable life lessons was the focus of the show. The kids were free to act out in a way that only they could – silly, imperfect, impulsive, creative. The Little Rascals' children, unlike many of their contemporaries, could communicate in their native tongue and succeed in unrealistically idealized environment. Anyone watching couldn't help but recognize their imaginary friendships, rivalries, and pranks. Clubhouse Dilemma. Thanks to its approachability and relatability, the program was able to reach a wider audience. Themes were universal, whether one was navigating a clubhouse problem or an uncomfortable love infatuation. While adults enjoyed reminiscing and finding comedy in the antics, children could see themselves portrayed by the actors. The lack of complex sets and fancy effects contributed to the show's brilliance. On the contrary, it showcased excellent character development, genuine comedy, and an in-depth familiarity with children's thought processes and actions. Progressive approach to diversity. Another significant legacy is The Little Rascals' progressive stance on diversity, especially for their time. Early 20th century American media rarely depicted black and white children playing together as equals, but such was the case in the series. Although it did have some of the era's stereotypical elements, The Little Rascals stood out from its peers by providing a pioneering portrayal of racial unity and friendship. Re-airings, remastered versions, and cultural references. Numerous re-airings, upgraded editions, and cultural allusions have ensured the show's longevity. Spanky, Alfalfa, Darla, Buckwheat, and the rest of the group have brought delight to audiences of all ages, from those who saw the original silent films to those who watch reruns or adaptations today. Whether it was the idealist, the outcast, the schemer, or the darling, these personalities became archetypes that transcended the 1930s American youth into all of childhood. An enduring cultural landmark, The Little Rascals has stood the test of time. The show's charming characters, mild humor, and pioneering spirit captured the spirit of growing up in a manner that remains relatable today. It will be a classic for a long time to come because it shows kids being kids, emotional, inventive, and creatively infinite. Billy Buckwheat Thomas. On March 12, 1931, in the City of Angels, William Thomas Jr. entered this world. As a supporting role, Thomas debuted in the 1934 Our Gang shorts. An earlier version of the Buckwheat persona included Carlina Beard, the younger sister of Matthew Stymie Beard. As time went on, however, Buckwheat transformed into a boy. At first, Thomas portrayed Buckwheat as a girl with a speech impediment, sporting the traditional African-American garb of a huge hand-me-down sweater, enormous boots, and bent pigtails. Future generations would find such a depiction very contentious. What happened to Buckwheat? U.S. military service was Thomas's next move after leaving the program. Army when he was barely 23 years old. After serving his country honorably, he was dismissed and presented with the National Defense Service and Good Conduct medals. Despite his modest demand for theater and film parts, Thomas turned down acting jobs to work behind the scenes as a Technicolor film lab technician. In his Los Angeles residence, he passed away from a heart attack on October 10, 1980, exactly 46 years after his mother had taken him to Hal Roach Studios for an audition. George Spanky McFarland. The Dallas native George Robert Phillips McFarland was born on October 2, 1928. As a young model, McFarland worked for a Dallas department store before he became a member of Our Gang. Notable print ads for Wonder Bread and Dallas highway billboards also featured him. When McFarland's aunt, Dottie, answered an advertisement from Hal Roach Studios looking for pictures of cute kids, he ended up playing the role of Spanky. His mother supposedly advised him not to misbehave at Roach's office, where the moniker originated. His mom often told him Spanky mustn't touch, since he tended to grasp objects. Spanky went on to be lovingly dubbed Spank in years later. On the show, he was the president of the He-Man Woman Haters Club. What happened to Spanky? Leaving the entertainment industry at 24, McFarland enlisted in the U.S. Air Force. He, too, could not shake the Spanky reputation and had odd employment at a popsicle factory, a hamburger stand, and a soft drink facility, much like William Thomas. After leaving the Little Rascals, he became a passionate public speaker. In June of the same year that he had his last appearance on television, 1993, playing himself at the introduction of the Cheers episode, Woody Gets an Election, he died of a heart attack. At 65 years old, he perished. After his death in January 1994, he was posthumously honored with a Hollywood Walk of Fame star. Matthew Stymie Beard. Born on January 1, 1925 in Los Angeles, Matthew Beard Jr. signed a 5-year deal to portray Stymie in Our Gang after appearing in other films as a baby. Our Gang director Robert McGowan changed the mascot from Hercules to Stymie because the character was constantly stymied by young Beard's inquisitive explorations of the studio. His distinctive feature was a beard topped with a large derby cap. Stan Laurel, a comedian who had worked with Hal Roach, creator of Our Gang, gave him the hat as a present. Beard had small parts in films like Captain Blood in 1935 and The Return of Frank James in 1940 with Jackie Cooper, another child star and ex-Our Gang member, when he quit the series at 10. He had left the performing profession by the time he reached high school. What happened to Stymie? Beard developed a heroin addiction, which is a sad reality. But he got his life together, and after rehab, he was a guest star on Sanford & Son and The Jeffersons, and had a recurring part on Good Times as Monty. In 1978, he wore his signature bowler hat for an appearance as a backstage crew member at the Apollo Theater in the Buddy Holly story. By speaking out against drug usage, Beard kept his sobriety. On January 3, 1981, he had a stroke. 5 days later, he died of pneumonia after suffering head injuries following a fall down a flight of stairs. His age was 56. Even down to his last resting place, he kept the same iconic derby hat he'd worn since his days as Stymie. Billy Froggy Laughlin. William Robert Laughlin came into this world on July 5, 1932, in the California town of San Gabriel. Joining our gang in 1940, Laughlin became famous at the tender age of 8. Froggy, played by Laughlin, got his moniker from his peculiar, guttural voice that resembled a frog's croak. Laughlin performed his voice acting. After appearing in Johnny Doesn't Live Here Anymore in 1944 and Our Gang's 1944 cancellation, Laughlin stepped away from the entertainment industry to savor his adolescent years. What happened to Froggy? Near his home in La Puente, California, Laughlin was killed when a speeding vehicle hit him as he was distributing newspapers on a friend's scooter. He passed away on August 31, 1948. Just 2 weeks before the disaster, Laughlin received the scooter from his parents. He was the youngest member of our gang to pass away at the tender age of 16. Eugene Porky Lee. Fort Worth, Texas was the site of Eugene Lee's birth on October 25, 1933. From their home in Texas, the Lees made their way to Culver City, California. Hale Roach remarked how much the 18-month-old resembled Spanky McFarland, another Texas native and star of our gang. Lee, whom the studio dubbed Porky, became Spanky's younger sibling and joined the ensemble. When McFarland was 10 years old, he outgrew 5-year-old Lee, who had a growth spurt at the beginning of 1939. Robert Blake, whose real name is Mickey Gubitosi, took his position. What happened to Porky? After leaving the military, Lee became a substitute teacher at Colorado's Broomfield High School. To avoid becoming an actor, he changed his name to Gordon Lee after Gordon Douglas, the director of our gang, whom he admired. His fight against lung and brain cancer came to an end on October 16, 2005, when he was 71 years old. Mickey Gubitosi. Robert Blake, real name Michael James Gubitosi, came into this world on September 18, 1933, in the New Jersey town of Nutley. In 1936, Blake's parents and his 3 siblings formed a song and dance performance called The Three Little Hillbillies. 1938, the family relocated to Los Angeles, where the children started working as movie extras. Blake finally broke through when he replaced Porky as Mickey in the Little Rascals. He advanced to the group leader position and later became great friends with Spanky. He appeared in the Red Ryder films when he was a little boy. What happened to Mickey? Robert Blake, born in Italy and raised in New Jersey, played the part of a Native American or Latino in several of his later appearances. Blake got his acting chops back after serving in the military. He became famous for his role as an undercover cop in the TV show Beretta. After his wife died, he spent over a decade under the scrutiny of the authorities and endured nothing but hardship. Tales of a Rascal, What I Did for Love, was Blake's memoir, but the public's perception of him remained unchanged. Mickey Algebra Daniels. From 1932 to 1935, Mickey Daniels appeared in 70 to 80 of Hale Roach's original Our Gang shorts, making him one of the Rascals with the most appearances. From $37 per week when he began to $175 per week, it's about $2,500 in today's money, when he departed the program. Daniels lived relatively well according to IMDb. What happened to Algebra? After the program ended, Daniels' career stalled. Rumor has it that he had a daughter from a previous marriage, was a divorcee, and died in 1970 while working as a cab driver in a hotel room by himself. Petey the dog. Pale the Wonder Dog was the original Petey, an American Pit Bull Terrier. Pale debuted in the 1920s as Tig, a character from the Buster Brown series. During this period, he developed the characteristic ringed eye. The Los Angeles-based business magnate Maximilian Faktorowicz drew the circle. Hale Roach left it on when he was asked to star in the Our Gang comedy later that year, making him the creator of one of the most famous dogs in cinematic history. Tragically, Hale was poisoned and died in 1930. Petey's role was passed down to his descendants. Somehow his eye circle shifted to his left eye. What happened to Petey? Lucine retired to Atlantic City after being dismissed from our gang, the dog's owner. Jonas passed away on January 28, 1946 at 16, the same age as Billy Froggy Laughlin. Petey, the protagonist of the 1994 film adaptation of The Little Rascals, is an American bulldog. Maryanne Jackson. Among the early 1930s female characters on our gang, Maryanne Jackson was among the most beloved. Her tomboyish charisma, quick wit, and no-nonsense attitude have made her famous. She added a fresh perspective to the show with her expressive face and distinctive bobbed hairstyle, which made her stand out from the rest of the group. Maryanne, who played Weezer's elder sister on screen, was often the gang's sanity checker due to her portrayal as tough, sensible, and vocal. She became a member of the cast in 1928 after the silent film period and helped pave the way for the sound age of cinema. In the early talkie episodes, her charismatic and sometimes feisty personality provided a welcome counterpoint to the antics of the male co-stars, and her natural delivery and comic timing made her stand out. After appearing in over 30 Our Gang shorts, Maryanne stayed with the series until 1931, when she left at 8. Despite her few appearances, she made a mark and is recognized as a pioneering, strong female character on the program. She exemplified a girl character who is just as fearless and competent as the guys around her. What happened to Maryanne Jackson? In the early 1930s, Maryanne Jackson was a favorite female character on our gang. She was known for her bobbed hairstyle, tomboyish charisma, and sharp wit. She offered a steady, self-assured demeanor to the show, often playing the straight man to the prankster gang's antics, and she was commonly cast as Weezer's elder sister. Jackson joined the cast in 1928, coinciding with the end of the silent cinema era, and deftly moved into the new realm of sound pictures. Her early talkie shorts were memorable for her expressive face and innate comic timing. Maryanne left the show in 1931 at 8 after appearing in over 30 episodes. She was one of the first strong female characters in our gang, and her short stint in Hollywood did not diminish the impact she made by fearlessly competing with the males. Jackson retired from performing altogether in her later years. She was low-key, working at department shops and attending parties and other social gatherings with her sister. She still thought about her days as a little rascal, even though she was no longer in the limelight. In 2003, at the age of 80, Maryanne Jackson succumbed after a heart attack. Darla Hood. Darla Hood entered this world in Leedy, Oklahoma on November 8, 1931. She began dancing and singing at a young age, both encouraged by her mother. On the occasion of her 3rd birthday, they traveled to New York with the hopes of becoming famous artists. She played Darla in the Our Gang shorts, which Joe Rivkin, a casting director at Hell Roach Studios, cast. Since Darla was so charming and often the recipient of Alfalfa, Butch, and Waldo's adoration, she's mainly recognized for her extroverted personality. What happened to Darla? Hood formed the Enchanters, a singing ensemble, while still a high school student when she outgrew Our Gang. Her last film appearance was in 1959's The Bat, cast by Rivkin, who found her as a toddler. She co-starred with Agnes Moorehead and Vincent Price as a secretary in the film, which was her first and only adult film appearance. Despite the passage of time, the Little Rascals remained by her side. She had her appendix removed in 1980 while planning the Sons of the Desert chapter's Little Rascals reunion in Los Angeles. She was 47 years old when she passed away abruptly from heart failure on June 13, 1979. Carl Alfalfa Switzer. The 7th of August, 1927, was the birth of Carl Dean Switzer in Paris, Illinois. His singing abilities helped him and his brother Harold gain fame in their community. As luck would have it, the Switzers went on a sightseeing excursion at Hell Roach Studios, the location of the Little Rascals, in 1934, while visiting relatives in California. Harold, age 8, and Carl, age 6, had lunch at the Our Gang Cafe after the tour and started an impromptu performance. They were signed immediately by Roach, who happened to be in the area and was so pleased. The name Alfalfa was changed to Alfalfa after Carl. What happened to Alfalfa? One of the most famous faces from the show, the Little Rascals, or Our Gang, was Carl Switzer, who became famous for his iconic role as Alfalfa because of his cowlick, off-key singing, and comic discomfort. Switzer rose to fame after joining the ensemble in the middle of the 1930s. It was difficult for him to enter adult roles once he left the show in 1940. Casting directors and spectators alike had difficulty seeing him in any role other than the beloved Alfalfa, leading to typecasting, a problem for many young performers. Bit roles in studio films and tiny, sometimes uncredited parts in B-movies were the extent of his acting career after the Rascals. After being disillusioned with Hollywood's lack of chances, Switzer left the entertainment industry permanently. He worked as a hunting guide and dog breeder, two jobs that allowed him to combine his two great loves, the great outdoors and animals. The life of Switzer was cut short. After a tense argument over a hunting dog and a $50 debt escalated into a gunfight in January 1959, he was shot and killed. He was yet to reach the age of 31. Switzer is remembered fondly as a member of the Little Rascals, even though he had a difficult adult life. Dorothy DeBorba. Dorothy DeBorba made her acting debut in the 1930 short film Pups is Pups before joining the cast of Our Gang. At the tender age of 5, her unique beauty, expressive expression, and impeccable timing for comedy made her an instant hit with viewers. Her intricate hairstyles, which she wore as her hallmark on the show, were particularly memorable. Her ringlets were painstakingly curled and often accessorized with large hair bows. Nevertheless, Dorothy's charisma extended much beyond her physical attributes. One of the most distinctive gang members, she had an innate talent for comedy and an irrepressible naughty nature. The production staff and fans dubbed her Echo because of her remarkable knack for hilariously and dramatically imitating other characters' words. This distinctive quality made her stand out from the crowd and became a running joke in several episodes. During the 1930s and 1933s, when Our Gang was at its peak, Dorothy appeared in over 20 short films. Her portrayal of a curious and rebellious youngster was spot on, and she will always be remembered as a beloved part of the show's storied history. What happened to Echo? Dorothy DeBorba made her acting debut in the 1930 short film Pups is Pups before joining the cast of Our Gang. Her expressive features, playful charisma, and distinctive hairstyle, extended curls adorned with large hair bows, became instantly recognizable even at the age of 5. Dorothy was a notable gang member during these early talkie phase of the series because of her joyful attitude and smart comic instincts. She earned the endearing moniker Echo for her unique gift of jokingly echoing the lines of her fellow cast members. During one of the most adored eras of the show, she became a mainstay over the following 3 years, appearing in 24 Our Gang segments. After DeBorba departed from the program in 1933, she settled into a life away from the limelight and Hollywood. After finishing high school, she was a school secretary in Livermore, California. She embraced family life with the same kindness that had made Dorothy adored on film and reared 2 children. She passed away in 2010 at the age of 85 from emphysema, but her long life and affectionate memory will live on in the hearts of the series' admirers. Brandon Bug Hall as Alfalfa. Born on February 4, 1985 in Fort Worth, Texas, Brandon Hall was also known as Bug, a nickname bestowed upon him by his parents. He became famous after playing Alfalfa in the 1994 version of The Little Rascals. Hall took home the Best Performance by a Youth Ensemble in a Motion Picture trophy at the Young Artist Awards, or YA, ceremony. The praise didn't stop with The Little Rascals. Nominated for a Young Star Award for Best Performance by a Young Actor in a made-for-TV movie, in 1996 for his role as Eddie Munster in the Fox telefilm The Munsters' Scary Little Christmas, Hall didn't win the honor, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves and Get a Clue are just a few of Hall's memorable Disney features. Their daughter, Josephine Joy, was born in 2017 when he wed Jill DeGroff. Brittany Ashton Holmes as Darla. Brittany Ashton Holmes entered this world in California on February 27, 1989. Holmes, like Travis Tedford, had her Hollywood debut portraying Darla. She went on to star in Red Shoe Diaries and make guest appearances on Ellen as a result. Humanoids from the Deep in 1996 was one of several made-for-TV films that came after. Her 2014 TV appearance in We Hate Paul Revere was her last. Ross Bagley as Buckwheat. The Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin area welcomed Ross Elliott Bagley on December 5, 1988. In the 1994 film The Little Rascals, Bagley played the role of Buckwheat. Ote? The actor had to know how to pronounce that line at the audition, even if we don't know much about the process. Bagley rose to fame as Will Smith's cousin Nicholas or Nicky Banks in the 1994 to 1996 TV series The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He reunited with Smith in Independence Day in 1996, portraying Smith's son, Dylan. Kevin Jamal Woods as Stymie. In 1994's The Little Rascals, Kevin Jamal Woods wore the iconic derby hat as Stymie. His most recent cinematic appearance was in the 2000s, TheBrainiacs.com. For that, in the 1995 Oscar-nominated picture Babe, Woods voiced the puppy that Fly and Rex had, and he had a regular role as Frank on Blossom in 1995. Travis Tedford as Spanky. Rockwall, Texas is the site of Travis William Tedford's birth on August 19, 1988. If you don't include his stint as Welch's first-child spokesman when he was 5, Spanky was Tedford's first job. The previous Spanky, George McFarland, was also from Texas. 4 years later, in 1988, he was cast as Slappy in The Stinkers and starred on The Pretender, his second appearance in a film or television series. In addition, he contributed voice acting to the 1998 film A Bug's Life. The last, released in 2010, was his previous feature film. The plot revolved around a group of bullied high school students who decide to get even. In terms of education, he earned an associate's degree in liberal arts from the Trinity Valley Community College 2 years ago. Now he calls Garland, Texas, his home. Zachary Mabry as Porky. Plano, Texas is the site of Zachary Mabry's birth on January 19, 1990. He portrayed the role of Spanky's brother Porky when he was only 4 years old. Both his first and final acting roles were it. He had a more conventional childhood, not pursuing performing, and went on to attend the University of Oklahoma. However, he is active on Twitter, having more than 4,000 followers. He is a certified public accountant who tweets often and calls himself an engaged citizen. The Roman Circus podcast, which he conducts regularly, is another of his ventures. Blake McIver Ewing as Waldo. In the 1994 picture, Blake McIver Ewing portrayed Waldo. Since then, he's maintained a steady career in cinema and television. He voiced the cartoon character Eugene on Hey Arnold and had a recurring part as Michelle's buddy Derek on Full House. While McIver Ewing is a talented pianist, vocalist, and composer, most of his creative energy as an adult has gone into music. The Time Manipulator, his first album, was out in 2014. The People's Couch, which airs on Bravo, now has him as a co-host. Olsen twins as Unnamed Twins. The Olsen twins were beloved on the late 1980s and early 1990s TV comedy Full House, so it's understandable that they would briefly appear in a picture like The Little Rascals, which had plenty of guest stars. In the film, the Olsens appear as twins without names and have little screen time. Growing up, the Olsens were the center of attention. Everyone wanted to know what they would do next. They've both been swamped as adults, mostly with projects for high-end fashion brands. Jordan Warcall as Froggy. In the 1994 picture, Little Froggy stood out as a charming rascal. His large, round spectacle and raspy voice instantly endear him. Jordan Warkall is Froggy's actual name. Throughout the 90s, he worked as an actor in shows including The X-Files, Judging Amy, and Seventh Heaven. Warkall maintains a constant but low-key presence on Twitter, despite bowing out of acting shortly after the new century. His voice is less creepy nowadays, even by his estimation. E.G. Daily as Froggy, voice. Could you pause for a second? You mean the boy's voice isn't like that? According to IMDb, Elizabeth Daily did some or all of Froggy's voice acting, better known as E.G. Her stellar background makes it easy to see why. With over 200 acting credits, most of which are voice acting assignments, Daly has been performing since the late 1970s. Her breakout performances were as Babe in 1998's Babe, Pig in the City, and Buttercup on the Powerpuff Girls, an animated series that ran for many seasons. Cortland Mead as Like all other mischievous little rascals, had his special trick. He would say to everything. As the rascal, Cortland Mead acted. The debut of the Little Rascals occurred while Mead was beginning his career. In 1997, he landed a role in the television version of Stephen King's The Shining. After a year on the daytime drama The Young and the Restless, but before she called it quits, Mead could only pull off a handful of additional assignments. Reportedly, he's self-described as a washed-up child star on his now-defunct MySpace profile. Raven-Symoné as Stymie's girlfriend. Another famous child actress appeared briefly just as the credits rolled in the Little Rascals movie, notorious for its abundance of celebrity cameos. Christina Perman's role as Raven-Symoné on The Cosby Show was well known, hanging with Mr. Cooper, That's So Raven, State of Georgia, and most recently the highly acclaimed ABC sitcom Blackish were just a few of Perman's many successful acting performances. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon